Hi gang, bit of a different video this week. So I've now been a YouTuber for 1 year. My first video was posted at the start of February 2021, and since then I've done, roughly 50 something, one per week, although there's a bit of drift there. So in this video, I'm going to go through what was easy, what was difficult, monetization, earnings, the paperwork and general work required, and hopefully how I ended up with, at this point, about 38,000 subscribers. Something I really didn't expect to happen. So first, if you don't usually watch my stuff, hi, I'm Ian. I talk about, nerd stuff online, particularly tabletop games like Warhammer. So everything I say in this video is pretty heavily influenced by that. I'm not a travel vlogger or a pop culture influencer or a cooking show. But a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is probably relevant if you're also thinking about making content about, I guess, any sort of niche hobby. I've split it up into a few things. Why I started and why I chose to do this, but also like how it grew over that year, at least as far as I can tell, how much work it is, and then finally monetization and how much I've made, though I wasn't really expecting to make that at the time. So I started doing this for a few reasons. First, and most importantly, a friend of mine had started getting into the hobby and had asked about the background of the setting, and I said I'd send her a brief summary, which turned into a really long document, and I'd had thoughts of doing something else with that document. Also, I've been watching a load of hobby YouTube in lockdown 2020, and since video content is my job, though not YouTube content, I've been tempted to make a channel myself, especially at a time where I had little work and loads of free time. I'm also someone who's been around the hobby for a while, and I've occasionally enjoyed using my design skills to produce guides or game aids, and I like it when people use them and enjoy them. So this seemed a bit of a normal thing to do, though I'd never really put myself in front of the camera before. Lastly, I've been watching a load of people talk about change within the hobby. Games Workshop, who make Warhammer, have been trying to open the hobby up to new audiences, and that resulted in the usual load of rubbish from angry gatekeepers complaining about wokeness and change. And I, as someone who'd been involved in this world for 30 years, knew that that was a load of rubbish. The game has changed constantly, and I'd noticed that no one on YouTube was really talking about that. Like most gaming or nerd niches of YouTube, there are a lot of different sorts of Warhammer YouTuber, from gaming tips to news channels to miniature painters, and there are people who talk about the lore and background of the games, but not really anyone talking about the background while placing it in some sort of context as a game in the real world. Anyway, I was basically influenced by a few channels I've been watching. So at some point around Christmas, New Year 2020, I borrowed some camera equipment and lighting equipment from work and did a load of little tests. I won't go into all the details of equipment and software here, but basically I did a load of testing, a bit of set design and a bit of edit and audio tests. I probably did way more than was actually necessary for a starting channel, but I work in a similar field and I wanted it to at least look roughly as good as a work project might. Anyway, I recorded the original video, and since I thought it went okay, I then wrote and recorded 2 other smaller scripts I've written over Christmas 2020, and I ended up with 3 videos to edit. Then in January, I pretty much spent the whole month editing those, figuring out what my format was, creating some logos, design templates, that sort of thing. Again, I probably went further than was necessary, but in the absence of work, I wanted it to feel like a proper project. I uploaded all 3 at once in the first week of February. I had this idea that if people liked them, then it would be useful to have more to watch. So I wanted to start with a few, and then I waited. Within the first week, I had some comments and a few subscribers, like 14 subscribers, which was really nice. I'd asked a few friends for feedback as I'd made various versions in January to test, but I'd kept that quite quiet from everyone else, including my gaming club. But the videos evidently caught the attention of some part of the algorithm, as 2 things happened within about a week. First, someone in my gaming club saw them and posted them to the club Facebook group, which has 1,000 members, so I got a few more views and subscribers there. However, the big thing that happened was that one of my influencers, Snipe and Wib, retweeted one of my videos to their, at the time, around 25,000 subscribers, which got my channel a load of views and bumped my subscriber count up. By the end of February, I'd made a few more videos with mixed results, but I had 938 subs, and each of the original videos had a few thousand views, which I thought was massive. Like, that was doing a lot better than I had expected when I started. So at some point in February, I'd gone, okay, that seems to be going well. I'll stick with it and see what happens. Make a video each week, give it a year. I'd heard that making a video every week was like a good amount. Release them on the same day of the week, which I'd also heard was a good idea, and I had already been doing. and, just try and do that for a year, see what happened. At the time, I wasn't really thinking about being a YouTuber. I wasn't going into this like you would if you were going to do it as a job. I have a job and it was definitely going to get busier in 2021. So I had no plans to replace it. Anyway, things ticked along quite well, but obviously the next thing that came up was the idea of monetization, just because that seems like an obvious landmark. In order to monetize a YouTube account, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. At least at the point I'm recording this, you do. I've reached 1,000 subs pretty quickly, mostly because of that initial repost by Snipe and Wib, but then the subscriber count had slowly grown from there, and by mid-March, just like 6 weeks after I started, I had my 1,000 subscribers. Hitting 4,000 watch hours with 10-minute videos though took a bit longer, but I continued to upload things and I eventually reached the right amount and hit the monetize button at the end of May. This was about 4 months after starting, and at this point I had about 1,400 subscribers and 18 videos uploaded. Right. A few things need to happen to monetize a channel. First, YouTube conducts a review of your channel. I'm not sure if this is in person. I imagine it's automated and it probably mostly searches for dodgy content. But I suspect this is also where YouTube first does all that stuff I'd heard of, like checking regular uploads or checking hashtags. I'd been religiously sticking to one video a week on the same day at the same time with the same hashtags. But I hadn't really noticed any clear benefit. However, once this monetization process had been approved, I suspect that this really paid off, because then my views jumped massively. This is the 2 months following the monetization request. Before monetization, I've been averaging a few hundred views a day across all 18 videos. The week after monetization, this jumped to thousands of views, and a few weeks later, tens of thousands of views a day. A similar thing happened with subscribers, going from 1,400 subs before monetization to 22,000 in that period. I think it probably helped that the video I published the week I monetized was quite a broad appeal one, a history of a major part of the backstory, but it was actually my very first video that got the majority of hits and seems to have been pushed by YouTube. This obviously meant that the channel grew really, really quickly in June and July, as I assume YouTube latched on to the regular uploads and reliable tagging. What's the takeaway from this? If you're thinking of starting the same thing, I guess that even if you're not seeing immediate results pre-monetization, keeping up a consistent upload schedule, consistent tags, and consistent subject matter means that you will get favorable results from the algorithm when it matters. I assume that's the message. I've not studied this. So since then, views went up and down and stabilized a bit lower. Generally, new videos for the rest of the year get somewhere between 5 and 20,000 views, and my subscriber count has slowly gone up to around, I think, 38,000-ish as I record this. There's a few reasons for that dip, one of which is that weekly schedules can be really hard to maintain, especially if you're, not doing this for your job. As summer happened here, my real job got busier, so I had less time to spend on big, highly researched videos, and I diversified into things I could make faster. Still fun things I'd wanted to do, but videos like army showcases or my book club require a hell of a lot less research and editing time. As I did this, I found that for a lot of videos, my views per video became a lot less than my total subscribers, which makes sense if you do a few different things. Not everyone who subscribes is interested in everything you do. From looking, that seems to be quite different with more painting or modeling focused channels, where I guess people are searching YouTube for a specific thing rather than always subscribing to that person. So yeah, the workload of weekly uploads is absolutely something to look out for, and diversifying your channel might well split your subscribers a bit, but also might allow you to keep the uploads regular, which I guess has a different set of benefits. Right, monetization obviously means money, so let's talk about that for a second, and the sort of earnings a channel of this size makes. First, in order to monetize, there's some paperwork to do. You have to sign up for Google AdSense, and as someone who will be paid by a US corporation, you have to have some tax forms to fill out. If you're American, I assume all that's really simple. But if you're not, then you might need to navigate your way around this. Apparently, the autofill makes that pretty simple for individuals. For me, I already have a video content company that already had the US numbers I required. So for me, it was really easy. But I've been informed that your local tax reference or national insurance number does mostly the same thing. I guess just take that a bit seriously or be aware that you need to do it, as withholding taxes if you get it wrong can be a horrible thing to sort out. So how much does it earn? Google AdSense calculates your revenue every month and then pays it out a few weeks later. So I've currently got information from May to December 2020 because that then got paid out in January. In May, where I was only monetized for a few weeks, the last week or two of the month, I made a grand total of, wait for it, £15.62. Yeah, I laughed when that happened. I didn't really expect to make money off this, but at the time that confirmed my initial thought, which was, there's no way of doing this for a living. But then in June, with that massive post-monetization boost that I had, I earned around £2,400, which is about $3,200, which was like really stupidly surprising, but also a total one-off. Since then, my view rates dropped to something much more normal, though still way higher than before monetization, and my average earnings from the channel have been around £400 a month. That's around $540. It's worth saying that that first video still gets more views than any other video I have every week, so that actually still contributes to that month's income. So is that worth it? Well, I've been doing a video a week, and if we remove that first month as an outlier, my average earnings have leveled out to about £100 a week, which is, it's not a lot considering the amount of work that content takes to make. I'd say that an average video might take 2 solid days of work to produce, an 8-hour day of researching, writing, organizing, an hour or so to record, a couple of hours to edit, and another half a day to do the graphics and render it. Videos like Tale of 4 Gamers or Book Club, where I mostly Zoom chat to friends and then edit it, take a lot less time, maybe half a day to a day. On the other hand, a video like the Bad Ab War with animated maps and a huge amount of information probably took the best part of a week to make. And bear in mind that this is my job, I edit really, really fast. Realistically, of course, I don't actually spend 2 days a week on this. I have multiple scripts on the go at once. I'll work on those here and there in quiet periods at work or on public transport. I save up completed scripts and I record 3 or 4 at the same time. But even accounting for that, £100 a week isn't really going to cover it. It's not something at this point that would be a job. For reference here, where I live in London, the living minimum wage is around £350 a week, and the median full-time income is about twice that, $728 a week. However, the question about is it worth it isn't really just monetary. For me, I enjoy making the content and doing something regular like this and, basking in the adoration of the internet. As I said, I used to make game aids for people and run campaigns. So for me, this is just a nice way of doing something for the hobby. And of course, I am not complaining if it makes a few £100 each month. Then great. I mean, it pays for my hobby, which is really good. I also don't want to downplay that there are obvious ways someone could increase their views compared to what I do. And obviously there are definitely YouTubers who do make an income from this. So I'm not saying don't do it or it's rubbish. I'm aware that I make very niche content, even in the Warhammer YouTube world. Channels that do get the most views tend to either be gaming channels, news and review channels, or modeling and painting tutorials, none of which I really do. And there are also Patreons, Discords, and streaming options that might supplement this income. My Patreon is only really basic because, of course, I would have to do more work to keep it updated anymore. But if you were doing this full time, I'm assuming you'd make a lot more use of that. And of course, there are video formats like news formats or streaming that lessen the amount of work needed to create each individual video and mean that you can make more than one a week. Finally, sponsorships are quite a big thing for the larger channels. I've received a few requests. Pretty soon after starting, I started receiving requests for either ads or themed videos to tie in with a product. I've generally turned them down because, it would force me to stick to a certain workload, and I can't really make that promise if I've got other jobs on. Anyway, over the last year, it has become clear to me how someone might do this full time. But even if I were regularly hitting the view numbers of June 2021, it's not probably something I'd consider. All of this is really just to say that if you're thinking of doing something like this, that's the sort of scale of work and numbers involved from a channel that has been this successful in this amount of time. It will obviously be different for the people who've done better. Right, enough about monetization. Any other things I've thought of? When I started out the channel, I set up loads of supporting social media, a Twitter feed, an Instagram, a Facebook. What that actually meant is that I've become really bad at responding to messages because every time someone tags you, it appears on Instagram and then someone might message you in Facebook. So I think one of the things I am going to do going forward is minimize the number of ways people can get in touch with you. Obviously, I want people to get in touch with me, but I don't want to have to be checking 5 things for that to happen. So that's something to bear in mind. And of course, if you really wanted to make a go of it, there are proper channels on YouTube that talk about all of this, none of which I've really watched. Maybe I should. Anyway, it's been a strange year, and this has been much more successful than I really ever imagined it would be. So Thanks to everyone watching these videos and subscribing, and long may it continue. Thanks to all the people who've been in touch to say how much they're enjoying everything. And if you decide to do something similar, best of luck. Thanks for watching. Right, that's enough of that. We return to our schedule of content just on the right there. And if you enjoyed this, then like and subscribe and smash all the buttons or whatever it is people have been doing this for a year and meant to say. See you next time.